What can the Washington Wizards expect from Khris Middleton and AJ Johnson? Today, we got special guest Camille Davis going to tell us all about our new additions in the 202. Come on, rock with us. Next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Wizards Daily Newsletter, a one-stop shop for the ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with all new free Locked On Wizards newsletter. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app and create an account and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And it's your boy Brandon Scott again, and I got a special guest, Camille Davis, who's going to tell us all about our new additions in Khris Middleton and AJ Johnson, because I'm very, very excited with this trade because we did trade Kyle Kuzma. So, but before we get into it, we did talk about Kyle Kuzma and his fit in Milwaukee. So definitely show some love to Camille Davis over there at Locked On Bucks, because she knows what she's doing, man. So definitely check it out as far as Kyle Kuzma and his fit in the Cream City. So let's get into it. As you guys should know, the Washington Wizards did send Kyle Kuzma, Patrick Baldwin Jr., and a 2025 second-round pick to Milwaukee for Khris Middleton, AJ Johnson, and a 2028 first-round pick swap. So we're going to start with Khris Middleton today. Like I said, you're not getting your prime Khris Middleton. Obviously, he is starting to decline, but I do think he is a solid addition. So for all those Wiz fans who are, just kind of half and half right now, right? On one half are excited, other half like, all right, we're rebuilding. Why are we taking on a bad contract? Looking at Khris Middleton, what should we expect as far as production on the court this season and probably next year from Khris Middleton?
A bona fide shot creator. He is somebody who can get his shot out of any situation. The mid-range game is absolutely beautiful. His work in the post, the footwork is fantastic. Like, if you have some basketball nerds watching Wizards basketball, like, the footwork from Khris Middleton, even though he's getting older on offense, the game is still really, really beautiful, really, really pure. Some ethical hoops from Khris Middleton. The defensive end of things, though, he has lost a step. When the Bucks won their championship in 2021, his two-way defense was a big part of the Bucks being able to climb that mountaintop. Of course, Drew Holiday, Giannis Antetokounmpo being big parts of that. But when Giannis went down Game 4 against the Hawks in the Eastern Conference Finals, Khris Middleton is the reason that the Bucks were able to get past the Hawks, get to the finals. Just the scoring ability that he has is beautiful. And even if you don't want to look that far back, because you're like, man, 2021, that was plenty injuries ago, which I understand. I would say don't look much further than last year in the playoffs against the Pacers when he was playing on 2 bad ankles in that series. Like, the offense is still there, but he's just a step slower now, and he can be a liability defensively.
Oh, absolutely. I've always been a big fan of Khris Middleton from afar. I think, from a 3-and-D aspect, he's always been a very productive player. I mean, Giannis, man, he could have took it a little hard, man, because he lost his road dog, man, from the championship run and playing with him for so many years. And like I said, from the standpoint of fitting the modern day NBA player, stretching the floor, defensive minded player who's versatile. And let's talk about versatility, because right now, obviously, we just lost our power forward and Kyle Kuzma. What position do you see that he can be more, had the most impact? Is it small forward, power forward, or even a 2-guard?
Definitely not a 2-guard. Just does not have the foot speed to keep up guarding opposing teams too. And that's part of the problem for Khris at this stage in his career. It's just like who do you guard? And the Bucks have tried to deploy some small ball lineups with Khris at the 4, which is something that I was interested in seeing from him. But the rebounding sometimes could be a little less than what you would hope for from a power forward. He's probably a tweener right now in this stage of his career, but ideally you slot him in as a 3.
Okay, I like that because, we got a young kid named Bilal Coulibaly who can play the 2-guard, man, who can also play the wing. So I like the fit. I do. And obviously looking at the contract situation, he is making $31 million this year with a player option for 33.5 next year. And right now the Wizards are still looking to move on from him. Hopefully today, because the deadline is in about 2.5 hours. Yeah. But from what I gathered, they're probably going to keep him. So keeping him is for being, the leadership and for the mentor role. How successful do you think he can be being that mentor or being that veteran voice in the locker room for a young Wizards team?
Extremely so. I think that's one of the most valuable things that Khris Middleton is going to bring to this Wizards team because it is really young. I do find it like ironic, funny, makes me smile to see him getting paired with Malcolm Brogdon again, who he did play with in Milwaukee. And Khris Middleton, was kind of a vet for Brogdon along the way. So he is a true professional. He's not someone who's going to come in with a big rah energy. He does not draw attention to himself. Really humble dude, but extremely competitive. And he's the kind of guy who's going to be in young guys' ears, teaching them the ropes, how to be a professional, what to look for. And although I think it's disappointing for me as a Bucks fan, Khris Middleton, hard stop, my favorite Buck of all time. So it was kind of an unceremonious end to his time here in Milwaukee, sending him to Washington. And that's no offense. It's just going from a team that had playoff aspirations, title aspirations, to a team that's really chasing that lottery is going to be a big adjustment for him. But to credit his professionalism, I think that he's going to take that in stride and still be a fantastic teammate, still do his job as a vet, and really help those young guys in their development.
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, like I said, I've always been a big fan of Khris Middleton from afar because he fits so many roles. I mean, he's versatile. The defense, the 3-point shooting, and of course, leadership, because we desperately need some veteran leadership. We just traded Jonas Valanciunas. Kyle Kuzma, where leadership is his thing per se, but
different kind of leader.
He'll be all right in Milwaukee. But as far as DC, still wanted more from Kuz, but like I said, wish him well. But getting back to fit real quick, on a rebuilding team, do you still see that he could be a starter for a team like the Wizards, or do you think it's best served to take him, bring him off the second unit and let kind of a younger player kind of take that role starting small forward?
I think in Milwaukee, there was an argument for him coming off of the bench, being able to really lead those second units because the Bucks lack ball handling and playmaking behind Giannis and Dame. And Khris was that major guy. He kind of helped connect those second units. Khris is a big glue guy. So for the Wizards, I honestly think it would be best for him to start because he's someone who I think can do a really good job setting the table up for some of those young guys to get easier buckets along the way. His playmaking ability is one of the most underrated parts of his game, in my opinion, and he's going to do a fantastic job of setting guys up. And for younger players in the NBA really trying to find their way, being able to get easy shots on possessions, like that's a godsend. And I think Khris is going to be able to help deliver that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So real quick before we move on, as far as this personality, he's a vet. Some vets want to get that ring. He's already got one, but maybe he wants another one. Do you see him as far as a personality type of thing where he would want to stay with a team like the Wizards and be that mentor, or do you see him maybe as a potential buyout candidate? I mean, what are you thinking with there?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Khris is a team guy, but I think Khris still has a few more years left. And I think he's of the understanding too, like his best years are behind him. So you want to try to maximize your last few years in the league. I could see him being someone who stays with the Wizards through this season. And if he accepts that player option this summer, maybe in hopes of being traded along the way with that, or opts out. But given the number on that player option this summer and knowing what the market's going to look like, I think it's more realistic for him to opt in and then probably just hope that the Wizards can move him at that point.
Yeah, I agree because he's turning 33 next year. I mean, he's not going to get that money on the open market, and and there's no shade on Khris, man. But at this stage in his career, he's just not that guy anymore. And if I'm him, I'm definitely enacting that player option because again, you're not going to get that money on the open market. So, like I said, I heard a lot that I love about Khris Middleton. Like I said, always been a fan of him from afar. Big piece of that Milwaukee Bucks team for the longest, and I know a lot of Bucks fans were very, very upset that he was traded. And I'm gonna ask you real quick, because I know I've been throwing a lot of questions at you, so I definitely appreciate you. But looking at Kyle Kuzma and Khris Middleton, is it an upgrade or did you degrade with this trade?
Fantastic question. I've been wrestling with that, and my initial reaction to even seeing the Kuzma trade rumors was please no. I was like, please no, I don't want to go down this route. I don't want to do it. Part of it, of course, is what I said. Khris is my favorite Buck, so there is that biased aspect of it. But taking bias out and just looking at it realistically, if we're being honest and looking at the Milwaukee Bucks as they were constructed before they made any moves, realistically, they're probably a second round team. And for them to go further than the second round, they would need the right matchups. They would need some luck, and they would need Dame and Giannis to be playing crazy ball at that time to get past the second round, because you're looking at Cleveland, you're looking at Boston, you're looking at New York. It's just going to be tough getting past those teams. And I felt like Khris Middleton as part of that rotation, even with the bad ankles, even with the defense slipping, what he's able to give as a shot creator, as a facilitator was going to be helpful for them. Now with Kuz in that place, I have questions about the Bucks' ability to have proper spacing offensively. I have some questions about shot creation. But defensively, I have hopes that Kuz can kind of help elevate them and unlock certain lines they haven't had before. So ironically enough, I still see them as a second round team with this trade. Perhaps slightly worse, although the Jericho Sims addition, I think, adds a nice little punch to the Bucks front court rotation as well. So that's a long way to say I think that they still have the same ceiling right now, which is probably around the second round team, unless you get big contributions from Giannis and from Dame, and you have someone else who's able to step up along the way.
Okay, I agree 100%. I could definitely dig it. So we're going to move on to AJ Johnson, because I'm very excited about AJ Johnson. So we're going to chat about him real quick. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. Not anymore. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. Good Lord. The perks of the high net worth are now available to any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from the first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC. As of November 18, 2024, Robinhood Gold Financial LLC, member SIPC, gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Tonight's episode is also brought to you by Gametime, baby. Looking for tickets to your next big event, whether it's a concert, a comedy show, or a sports game? Finding the right ticket at the right price can be a headache. But with Gametime Picks, it's never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Gametime Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. Come on now. It creates the best deals so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. And like I said, I go to games all the time. You guys know me. Nats, O's, Wizards, Commanders. I go to games all the time. But last year, for the first time, I went to a concert. 50 Cent and Busta Rhymes. Come on now. So I'm saying Gametime Picks is my go-to. And the reason for that is you get your money's worth, whether you get the seat from your seat before you go or just all the deals they provide. So do yourself a favor. Take the guesswork of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app. Create an account and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's get back into the thing. So,
Sir.
AJ Johnson, I'm very excited. And a lot of people in the Wizards fan base was ready to roll when they heard AJ Johnson. Now, few people did say Bo Champ, and I do like me some Bo Champ, man. But and I guess we'll roll with that real quick. Out of those two prospects, is AJ Johnson, does he have the highest ceiling to you?
Oh, it's interesting to think about it in that way. I think he does have a higher ceiling than MarJon. And part of it is because we've seen more of MarJon at this point than we have of AJ Johnson. So like which he could be, the potential is still more unrealized for AJ than it is for MarJon at this point. Now, I do think that in a change of scenery, MarJon getting a better opportunity, he can produce for an NBA team. But AJ Johnson, he's not quite NBA ready yet, but he has some skills that make you really interested to see if he can develop and put it together to become an NBA player.
Absolutely. 6'5". What is there not like they like, right?
Quick too.
So, oh man, I was just looking at the video, man. I'm like, this brother can play, man. I mean, he's quick, he can shoot. And that kind of goes into the next question. I mean, what does he provide for a young and upcoming Wizards team?
Speed, that's a big one for him. And I think part of AJ Johnson's game that he's going to have to continue to work on, and we saw it for the first time against the Thunder when the Bucks sat all top 5 of their players. So the young guys got a lot of run, and it was seeing him starting to learn how to control his speed, because early on he was just one speed all the time, and him learning how to deaccelerate is going to put so much pressure on opposing defenses. So he has the speed, he has the shooting touch. The numbers don't quite reflect that, but he has the aggression. He's not scared of the moment. Finishing, he has to continue to work on, but I think part of that is just his frame right now, just a thin frame on that 6'5" frame. So the potential is there for him. The shooting, The touch, he seems to also have a pretty good touch of finding his teammates. So like the potential is there. The Bucks were mentioning like they're really trying to teach him while he was here. They were trying to teach him how to be more of a point guard rather than a combo guard. So that was part of his development down with the Wisconsin Herd of like, we're teaching you to be a point guard. Can you do this? So I'll be really curious to see him getting more playing time and being able to kind of accelerate that development with the Wizards.
So you mentioned them trying to make him into a point guard, which, looking at a similar player in Johnny Davis here in DC, they tried and kind of failed to turn him into a point guard. Looking at his fit with Washington, we have Bub Carrington, we required in the 14th pick in the draft, and we didn't trade in Portland. And we have obviously Jordan Poole running the point, at least for the next couple of years. And then Malcolm Brogdon, we'll see if he's moved today. If not, he's going to be around for at least the end of the season. But do you, as far as his fit in DC, do you see him being a two guard, or do you think that it best behooves the Wizards to try to make him to a point guard?
It might behoove you to make him into a point guard. Thinking of like the Jordan Poole experience right now of trying to kind of put Jordan Poole into that point guard role. Poole's a combo guard. AJ Johnson's also a combo guard as well in his career, but he's still only 19 years old. He has a lot more ball ahead of him. So I think AJ Johnson probably does slot best into that point guard role, especially because as that point guard, he's just going to have the ball in his hands a lot more often and be able to use that speed to try to create advantages for his teammates or himself. So I think having the ball in his hands more often is going to be the best course of action for him going forward.
Nice. I can dig it. I can definitely dig it. So the Washington Wizards and our G League affiliate, the Capital City Go-Go have done a great job getting guys ready to contribute at the highest level when called upon. We've got a lot of players in Jordan Goodwin, who we eventually traded, Jared Butler, who was traded today, matter of fact. So the fact that we have such a good development record is with our G League affiliate and with the big club. Starting out, do you see AJ Johnson as a guy that you would give extended minutes on it at the G League, or do you think we should definitely try to find some minutes with him on a second unit in the second half of the season?
I think second unit with the Wizards would probably be the best goal for him. He got a lot of playing time with the Herd here in Milwaukee, but part of that is team construction, right? The Bucks are a team that's really chasing the championship. And when you're doing that, you just don't have as much time to allocate to young guys figuring things out along the way because you're trying to win as many games as possible. And right now for the Bucks, the young guys who they're giving those minutes to develop is AJ Green, Andre Jackson Jr., and Ryan Rollins, our two-way guy who stepped in and took DeLon Wright's minutes as like, no, I'm going to be the backup point guard for this team. So those are the main three young guys for the Bucks who've been getting that playing time. So the Herd was necessary for AJ Johnson. But given that the Wizards are where they are trying to really evaluate talent and get guys the reps, I think it'd be really valuable for AJ to be with the main roster, even if it is with the second unit. But just getting that NBA run is going to be really, really good for him.
You mentioned DeLon Wright. That was one of my favorite guys, man. That glue guy, man, here in DC.
I had such high hopes, man.
I'm telling you. Ryan Rollins, too. Obviously, his time in DC didn't end the way he wanted to, but he's a prospect I do like. Ryan Rollins is a kid who can definitely play. So a couple of former Wizards right there. So before we roll, I'm throw something at you real quick.
Okay.
I always ask everybody, who right now, as it stands, who would be your all-time Milwaukee Bucks starting five?
Ooh, all time. So I already told you, Khris Middleton is my favorite Buck of all time. So I got to throw Khris in there. You got to have Giannis. I will go with Kareem too. You figure out the shooting elsewhere. So with that, with them being the front court, we go Khris Middleton, Ray Allen. And then for my point guard, who would I want to be the point guard for this unit? I'm gonna go with Dame. Let's go with Dame. Let's get the shooting there just to continue the spacing. Dame, Ray Allen, Khris Middleton, Giannis, and Kareem. And I always do my starting fives as not just my favorites, but who can actually play together? Because I want the lineup to make sense. So that's the five I would go with.
Okay. No Drew Holiday, huh? Okay.
I love Drew, but when you got Giannis and Kareem behind you, you got some liberties you can take with that backcourt defense.
You ain't lying. So I'm with it, man. I'm with it. So again, appreciate you coming on. Like I said, you definitely gave us some inside info on what to expect from our new additions. And look, like I said, Kyle Kuzma, not the best exit, but you guys enjoy it because, like I said, he is a high character guy who can contribute. I think you guys do have the best environment for him to succeed. So, like I said, it's a win-win. And I guess real quick, we'll talk about the draft picks. I mean, how do you feel about the pick swap? I'm not a big pick swap person.
I'm just happy the Bucks did not have to give up their 2031 first round pick in this move to make this happen. And given that the pick swaps between three teams as well, like whoever gets the less favorite line, I'm like, that's fine. But what I will say is that Bucks fans will hate this if this comes true, but when the Bucks acquired Khris Middleton, it was a trade for Brandon Knight for Brandon Jennings, and the Bucks insisted to throw Khris Middleton into that trade from Detroit. Like, hey, we want Khris in this too. Like, we know we're getting back Knight, but we want Middleton. And I find it somewhat ironic that Middleton is being traded in a situation where AJ Johnson was the guy where the other team was like, no, we need him in this trade as well. And I think it would just be really ironic if AJ Johnson becomes the Khris Middleton of this trade going forward. So just something I've been thinking about.
Absolutely. So again, appreciate you taking time to roll with us today. Real quick, where can people find you?
Oh yeah, for sure. Locked On Bucks Monday through Friday on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram at Camille Monet, CamilleMonae. And I also do Technical Foul podcast, recording every Tuesday. This week is Thursday for the trade deadline, but we cover NBA, NFL, and pro wrestling if that is your cup of tea.
Okay, I can dig it. So again, appreciate your time today. We'll definitely catch you next time. And for you guys who Locked On Wizards, I'm definitely going to catch us tomorrow, following tomorrow's game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And of course, I will be there for the Hawks game on Saturday. So again, definitely expect a live recap. So again, Camille, appreciate your time, and we will definitely catch you next time. All right, everybody, hail to the Wizards and peace.